I want to start today's Pokemon card investing video with a bit of a quote. And the quote reads, "History repeats itself, so you might want to pay attention." How can we relate that quote to the Pokemon card investing world, you might ask yourself? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. Before we jump into it though, please, if you haven't subscribed, do so. It means a lot. Let's grow the channel, grow the community. If you want to become a member of the channel, you can do so just by clicking on my profile on my home, like the YouTube profile, and then you can go join. What it does, it gives you access, and I'll leave my Hotmail in the description on every video. You can shoot me an email if you're a member with your title of your YouTube handle and ask me any personalized questions you want regarding Pokemon card investing. Like if you've got a strategy that you might want to lay out and you just want to bounce that idea off someone else, by all means do so. That's what it's there for. Anyway, back onto the video. Quote, once again, history repeats itself, so you might want to pay attention. Okay, how can we relate this to the Pokemon card world? I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey back to 2020. So let's go back in time, into history, for lack of a better word. Man, I say that a lot. Anyway, the quote in 2020. So back in 2020, right, I decided that I wanted to pick up 4 Sun and Moon sets. So the Sun and Moon era had just finished and we just started Sword and Shield, just like we are sort of at now, the 2023, 2024, in that Sword and Shield has just ended and Scarlet and Violet has just started. So when one set ends and another door opens, geez, we're sounding very philosophical now, aren't we? It seems to be a good idea to pick up the latter set. So there's 4 sets I want to write: Burning Shadows, Ununified Minds, Cosmic Eclipse, and Unbroken Bonds. All 4 Sun and Moon sets, but it's into, and it was about halfway through 2020. So we're starting to get into Darkness Ablaze, Vivid Voltage territory, like 3rd and 4th sets out in the Sword and Shield era. At the time, let me just run you through a couple of prices, right? So Burning Shadows was $270 US at the time, because that is the oldest of the 4 sets I wanted to pick up. That set came out in 2017. So it was already 3 years old. The other 3 though, Unified Minds, Cosmic Eclipse, and Unbroken Bonds, were all 2019 sets and had already appreciated a lot. Okay, Unified Minds was sitting about 240 US. Cosmic Eclipse was a touch dearer at about 270 US, and Unbroken Bonds was a touch dearer than Unified Minds as well at about 245 US. So those sets were only about a year old, those 3 tag team sets, but it already appreciated a lot. Of course I wanted Team Up, but I can tell you now that also went absolutely bonkers. Like that was already sitting at 500 US by 2020. Like that set just went to the moon, and to the moon quickly. So okay, those were the prices of those sets. And I bought all 4 at those prices in 2020. Okay? Now, currently, if we have a look what their prices are sitting at now, Burning Shadows has done the least. That hasn't moved a lot, right? So it's gone from $270 a box to $414 a box US. Unified Minds has gone from $240 a box to $665. Okay, these are current prices off TCG Player in US dollars. Cosmic Eclipse has gone from $270 to $863, and Unbroken Bonds has gone from $245 to $598. So out of those 4 sets, Burning Shadows performed the worst, then Unbroken Bonds, then Cosmic Eclipse, then Unified Minds. But all of them have had big percentage gains since 2020. Now, what I'm getting at with this whole scenario, taking you back to 2020, you might be trying to figure out in your head is, and I mentioned this in my last video, my game plan for this year is to pick up last year's sets. Well, actually, sorry, 2022 sets. So Sword and Shield, Alt Art, Trainer Gallery sets. And, you know, there's a few things that come into play there. And a lot of people might have the argument, oh, you know, it's different, okay? Sun and Moon was not printed to the same amount as Sword and Shield. Well, yes and no. There's a few little facts that might come into play there that I'm going to talk to you about in a second. So that might be one thing that comes to mind. You might go, you know, there's no point picking up Astral or Brilliant Stars or Fusion Strike or Chilling Reign. They all got printed into absolute oblivion. You can still pick some of them up at retail price. You know, Brilliant Stars is still $145 US on PokemonCenter.com. I was going to say .au, it's not Australia, PokemonCenter.com. So why would you even bother? Yeah, well, you know what? Unbroken Bonds, Cosmic Eclipse, Unified Minds, and even Burning Shadows, there was multiple eBay listings of these. Like, you know, people still had 20 Cosmic Eclipse booster boxes in stock, and 15 Unbroken Bonds booster boxes in stock, and 30 Unified Minds booster boxes in stock as part of their store in 2020 because the set was only a year old. So, okay, the argument that you might present, well, what's the point of picking up 2022 Sword and Shield sets because they've been printed way, way more than those Sun and Moon sets. So, history's not going to repeat itself. So why even use this quote, Michael, you might ask? Well, here's one, right? Let's look at the PSA pop reports of those 4 sets that I mentioned. Because, okay, let's go down to the printing route. Now, printing's a bit of a massive unknown. Like, I guess unless you work for the Pokemon Center International, Pokemon Company International, or you're set up on the board of the Pokemon Company, you know exactly what cards are being printed and when. It's such a huge unknown. Like, it flows down to a distribution level, and it gets, we can now pick up stock of this set again, so therefore it's had a massive reprint, or maybe it's old stock. Who knows? But the whole printing of Pokemon cards seemed to be some massive mystery. So what we know is, right, the Millennium Print Group has been printing Pokemon cards for a while. In April 18th, 2022, the Pokemon Company International purchases Millennium Print Group. So they've always been working in conjunction with each other, almost like a subcontractor would, in that Millennium Print Group was always printing cards for the Pokemon Company International, but Pokemon Company International purchased Millennium Print Group. And their statement when they purchased it was, with the acquisition, the Pokemon Company International aims to further develop Millennium Print Group's capabilities, infrastructure, and scale. Not much detail in the statement, but 3 key points: capabilities, infrastructure, and scale. And if we look at all those 3 words, it's a bit of a no-brainer what they were trying to do. Okay, they're trying to pump out more cards. Not only that, you've got to remember, this company doesn't just pump out the cards; it also boxes, for the most part, boxes the cards and sends them out as well. So that's a big production circuit and line going on. And the whole idea was to scale it up and print more. So April 18th, 2022, if you want to know exactly where that borderline sits between Pokemon card sets, it sits between Brilliant Stars and Astral Radiance. So Astral Radiance onwards, or potential reprints of previous sets, was when Millennium Print Group was owned by Pokemon Company International. Okay? So there's a couple of facts to keep in mind. But when we talk about print runs and how many cards got printed, and your argument might be, well, those Sun and Moon sets that you were talking about, sorry, we're looping the story right back around now. Those Pokemon card sets that you bought in 2020 from 2019 Sun and Moon sets were not printed anywhere near as much as what they are now. Okay, but Millennium Print Group still printed them. And if we look at the PSA pop reports, let's go straight to Burning Shadows, right? 32,429 PSA graded cards. That's not a small number. That's more than Battle Styles. Like, a lot more than what Battle Styles has had printed. Battle Styles only has had 20,774. And you can say, oh, Battle Styles doesn't have that many cards that people want to grab. Well, neither does Burning Shadows. You've only really got that Charizard GX Rainbow Rare. Okay, Cosmic Eclipse, 73,217 graded cards. That's more than Chilling Reign. Chilling Reign only has 44,561 PSA graded cards. Unbroken Bonds, 39,539 PSA graded cards. That's just under Astral Radiance at 48,951. And finally, Unified Minds, 30,364 PSA graded cards. Now, you could say, okay, there's no exact correlation between PSA graded copies and the total print run, because there's a lot of things that come into play there when it comes to print run, not just how many PSA graded cards there are. But generally, if a card has a high population of PSA graded cards from the modern era, you could generally say it's been printed a lot. Like, if we look at Hidden Fates, it has something like 180,000. If we look at XY Evolution, it has over 200,000. If you look at Vivid Voltage, it has over 200,000 PSA graded cards. And we all know those 3 sets have been 3 of the most printed sets ever. Now, it's got a lot of other factors, like I was saying in there, like, how many cards are actually gradable? How many cards would you actually bother to send off getting graded? Like, Evo Skies has a really high PSA pop report because it has heaps of chase cards inside it that you'd want to send graded. The Dragonite, the Rayquaza, the Umbreon, the Glacier, the Sylveon. Leafeon, like you get it. There's heaps of cards that you'd want to send off to get graded. But my point is, Sun and Moon was still printed a lot, and Cosmic Eclipse to have 73,000 PSA graded cards, that's more than most of Sword and Shield era. Okay, yes, it's not more than Evolving Skies, and yes, it's not more than Vivid Voltage, but it's more than most others. So I guess the point I'm getting at is, if we then loop the story right back to the start, in that history repeats itself, so you might want to pay attention, that quote. It's now 2024. If we're going to buy some Sword and Shield sets, old art sets, there's every chance that these could do something similar to what the latter Sun and Moon sets have. Like, let's take Chilling Reign, for example. Current booster box price, $163. And you might be nervous about getting this set, because that's about 300 Australian dollars. And you might go, well, I don't want to spend that much. It's already done a fair bit of appreciation. Like, I used to see Chilling at $85 US or $90 US. Why the hell would I want to pay 163? It's doubled where it used to be. Fusion Strike, $145 US. Astral Radiance, $128 US. Brilliant Stars, which is weird. TCG Player has it at $161 US, but you can still buy it from the Pokemon Center website for $145. So I don't know why they have that price on there, calling it the market price, I guess, but it's not really if you're in the US, because you can buy it from Pokemon Center for that price. Fun fact, Chilling Reign is all sold out on PokemonCenter.com. So you cannot buy yourself a Chilling Reign Electrona box or 3-pack blister or booster pack or booster box from Pokemon Center. It is done, finished. So with all those things in mind, all those pieces of the equation, and if we summarize all those pieces of the equation, Sun and Moon 2019 card sets bought in 2020, even though they were already slightly above retail price, or even in some cases double retail price, the appreciation they've had in the last 3 to 4 years actually under 3 years, no, just on 3 years, has been absolutely phenomenal, because it was at the end of their print run, stock was running low, no more was being printed, and therefore prices shot up. And these weren't, other than Team Up, these weren't short printed sets. They were popular sets. There was plenty of demand. They were being printed, as shown, like I was saying, by their PSA pop reports. So if we go to Sword and Shield sets, things like Fusion Strike, things like Chilling Reign, things like Brilliant Stars, things like Astral Radiance, and I've said this before, Astral is a huge sleeper set. The artwork, that Machamp's amazing. The Dialga and Palkia are amazing. The Starmie V from the Trainer Gallery, amazing. That set doesn't get the love that it deserves. It's a really nice Pokemon card set. Just go through and have a look at that Trainer Gallery. Really good looking set. So it even gives me some Cosmic Eclipse vibes. That's sort of what the set was based off. Astral Radiance, Cosmic Eclipse, you get the idea, there's some similarities there. So those sets might follow a similar trend to what we saw from those 2019 Sun and Moon sets. I hope all that made sense. It was a very circulated story, but I hope it came back. History repeats itself, so you might want to pay attention. I'm Michael, this is PokeOz. Catch everyone next time.